Welcome to Nocturnal Knowledge. Today, we're exploring Atomic Habits, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results by James Clear. Settle in as we journey through the complete text. If you enjoy this exploration, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more deep dives into the world's most influential books. Our journey begins now. We've just begun exploring the core principles of Atomic Habits, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. And now we delve into a crucial concept, the aggregation of marginal gains. This idea centers on the seemingly insignificant power of daily 1% improvements. James Clear illustrates this beautifully with the dramatic transformation of British cycling. Before Dave Brailsford took over as performance director in 2003, British cycling had a long history of mediocrity. For nearly a century, their achievements were underwhelming. A single gold medal in the Olympics, and a complete absence of Tour de France victories. Their performance was so poor, in fact, that a leading European bike manufacturer refused to supply them with equipment for fear of reputational damage. Brailsford introduced a revolutionary approach, the aggregation of marginal gains. He explained, "The whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together." This wasn't just about major overhauls. The improvements were minute, seemingly trivial. They adjusted bike seats for comfort, improved tire grip with alcohol, used heated overshorts for optimal muscle temperature, and employed biofeedback sensors to monitor athlete responses. They even meticulously analyzed the team truck's interior, painting it white to easily spot dust that could degrade bike performance. These seemingly minuscule changes, along with hundreds of others, targeted every aspect of the cycling experience. The results were astonishing. Within 5 years, British cycling dominated the 2008 Beijing Olympics, winning a staggering 60% of the available gold medals. 4 years later, in London, they shattered 9 Olympic and 7 world records. Bradley Wiggins became the first British cyclist to win the Tour de France, followed by Chris Froome's multiple victories. In just a decade, they accumulated 178 world championships and 66 Olympic or Paralympic gold medals. This extraordinary success stemmed not from revolutionary breakthroughs, but from the compounding effect of countless 1% improvements. Clear emphasizes the ease of overestimating single defining moments and underestimating the cumulative impact of small, consistent changes. He states, "Improving by 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run." The mathematics of this 1% daily improvement is striking. A 1% improvement daily for a year yields a 37.78-fold increase in overall performance. Conversely, a 1% daily decline leads to near total collapse. This highlights the power of compounding. The effects of our habits multiply with repetition, delivering enormous impact over time. The slow, incremental nature of this progress makes it easy to overlook. We often dismiss small changes because immediate results aren't readily apparent. Saving a little money doesn't instantly make you a millionaire. One gym session doesn't magically transform your physique. This is why it's crucial to focus on the systems, the daily processes, rather than solely on the end goals. As Clear points out, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. The aggregation of marginal gains is not just a strategy for elite athletes, it's a framework for life. By focusing on consistent, incremental improvement in all aspects of your life, you harness the power of compounding to achieve remarkable results. It's about understanding that seemingly small choices, repeated consistently over time, determine your trajectory and ultimately shape your destiny.
Why small habits matter. We've just seen how the aggregation of marginal gains can lead to extraordinary results. But that raises a crucial question. Why do small habits matter so much? The answer lies in understanding the power of trajectory over current results, the lagging nature of habit measurement, and the potent forces of both positive and negative compounding. James Clear emphasizes that we often overestimate the importance of single, defining moments. We crave that earth-shattering breakthrough, that one massive action that will instantly transform our lives, whether it's losing weight, building a business, or mastering a skill. But he argues that improving by 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. This seemingly insignificant 1% improvement compounded daily yields astounding results. As Clear illustrates, a 1% improvement daily for a year results in a 37-fold increase in your performance. Conversely, a 1% decline daily leads to near total collapse. This is the power of compounding. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The subtle nature of this progress is why we often dismiss small changes. Saving a little money today doesn't make you a millionaire. One gym session doesn't magically transform your physique. We see limited immediate results, so we easily abandon our efforts. This same slow pace makes it easy to justify neglecting bad habits. One unhealthy meal, one late night, one instance of procrastination, each feels insignificant. But Clear warns, when we repeat 1% errors day after day by replicating poor decisions, duplicating tiny mistakes, and rationalizing little excuses, our small choices compound into toxic results. He uses the analogy of an airplane's flight path. A slight change in heading, a mere 3.5 degrees southward, alters the destination by hundreds of miles. Similarly, minor daily adjustments in our habits dramatically reshape the trajectory of our lives. Success, he insists, isn't about one-time transformations, but the product of daily habits. Crucially, our current results are a lagging indicator of our habits. Your net worth reflects your financial habits, your weight, your eating habits, your knowledge, your learning habits. You get what you repeat. Therefore, we should be less focused on our current state and more on our current trajectory. A millionaire with poor spending habits is on a dangerous trajectory, while someone broke but diligently saving is on the path to financial freedom, albeit a slower one. This underscores the importance of understanding the compounding nature of our habits. Positive compounding in productivity, knowledge, and relationships builds upon itself, creating exponential growth. Conversely, negative compounding in stress, negative thoughts, and outrage spirals downwards, leading to detrimental consequences. The cumulative effect of these tiny gains or losses amplified over time determines whether time becomes your ally or enemy. The seemingly slow and incremental nature of habit change is often disheartening. Clear calls it the valley of disappointment. where progress feels non-existent for weeks or months. But this plateau of latent potential is a crucial stage. It's where we build the necessary foundation for later breakthroughs, much like bamboo developing extensive root systems underground before its dramatic upward surge. The ultimate overnight success is rarely overnight. It's the culmination of years of unseen work. Change can take years before it happens all at once. Patience and persistence are essential to overcome this initial plateau and unlock remarkable results.
We've just explored why even tiny changes in our habits can have a significant impact. But building lasting habits isn't a sprint, it's a marathon, and understanding the journey is critical. This brings us to the plateau of latent potential, a period where your efforts may seem to yield little visible progress. It's often frustrating, a feeling Clear describes as the valley of disappointment. You diligently work, exercising daily, studying consistently, yet the scale barely moves, your grades remain stagnant, and you feel as though you're getting nowhere. This is precisely because of the nature of compounding. The book explains this beautifully with the analogy of an ice cube. You apply heat, you put in the work, but for a long time, nothing appears to happen. The temperature rises from 25 degrees to 30, 31, yet the ice cube remains stubbornly solid. Then, at 32 degrees, the breakthrough happens. The ice melts. Similarly, with habits, the initial efforts, though vital, might not show immediate, obvious results. The effect is delayed. This slow, unseen growth is what James Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. The accumulation of small gains building up the potential for a dramatic shift. It's like storing energy. You're building up the potential for a powerful release, often experienced as a sudden breakthrough moment, what others may perceive as an overnight success. You, however, know the truth. It was the countless hours, the seemingly insignificant daily actions during the period of latent potential that made that breakthrough possible. It's the unseen work, the groundwork, that ultimately allows for the dramatic shift. It's the same principle behind an earthquake, where tectonic plates grind together for years before a cataclysmic release. Mastery often requires the patience to endure this plateau. Clear stresses that this valley of disappointment is not a sign of failure, but a necessary stage. It's the nature of compounding. Significant progress is frequently delayed. Many abandon their efforts during this phase, mistaking the lack of immediate results for a lack of progress. But it's the persistence beyond the plateau that yields remarkable results, that transforms merely good into truly great. Don't be discouraged by the seemingly small, almost imperceptible progress in the short term. The delayed results are worth the wait. Remember the San Antonio Spurs quote, "When nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split in two. And I know it was not that last blow that did it, but all that had gone before." That's the essence of the plateau of latent potential, the seemingly insignificant accumulation of effort leading to extraordinary results.
Systems versus goals. We've just explored the frustrating yet crucial plateau of latent potential, that period where consistent effort yields seemingly invisible results. Understanding this plateau is key because it highlights the importance of persistence even when progress isn't immediately obvious. But what truly drives long-term progress? The answer, as James Clear reveals, lies in shifting our focus from goals to systems. Clear argues that we often overestimate the importance of a single defining moment and underestimate the power of small, consistent improvements. We crave that earth-shattering breakthrough, that moment of instant success. But true progress, he insists, is rarely linear. It's the aggregation of marginal gains, the compounding effect of tiny improvements day after day. As Clear explains, if you can get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day for 1 year, you'll decline nearly down to 0. This concept, he emphasizes, is frequently overlooked due to survivorship bias. We tend to focus on the successes, the winners, and assume their achievements stemmed from ambitious goals alone, neglecting the countless others who pursued the same goals without similar results. The British cycling team, for instance, didn't become world champions because they suddenly set a new goal. They already wanted to win. Their transformation came from implementing a system of the aggregation of marginal gains, focusing on countless small improvements, each contributing to the overall success. Goals, Clear argues, are about the results, while systems are about the processes that lead to those results. The problem with a goals-first mentality is threefold. Achieving a goal is only a temporary change. Goals restrict our happiness by constantly delaying satisfaction until the next milestone, and goals are at odds with long-term progress, leading to the yo-yo effect of intense effort followed by burnout and relapse. Instead, Clear advocates for a systems-first approach. He uses the analogy of a basketball coach focusing solely on daily practice, not just the final game score. The score takes care of itself, he quotes 3-time Super Bowl winner Bill Walsh, highlighting that consistent improvement through a well-designed system naturally leads to better results. This emphasis on systems is reflected in the very term atomic habits. An atomic habit isn't just a small change, it's a small change within a larger system, a fundamental unit contributing to overall improvement. These seemingly insignificant routines compound over time, fueling larger wins in a manner that far surpasses their individual impact. They are, in essence, the building blocks of remarkable results, as Clear states. Therefore, forget setting goals, at least in the way you may have been thinking about them. Focus on your system instead. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. By focusing on the system, you lay the foundation for consistent long-term progress, transforming small incremental gains into truly remarkable outcomes.
3 layers of behavior change. We've just seen how focusing on systems rather than goals is key to lasting change. But even the best systems can falter if we don't understand the deeper levels at which change occurs. There are, in fact, 3 layers to behavior change, like the layers of an onion. The first layer is outcome change. This is about the results you want to achieve: losing weight, writing a book, winning a championship. Most goals fall into this category. It's what you get. The second layer is process change. This is about changing your habits and systems, implementing a new gym routine, decluttering your workspace, developing a meditation practice. This is about what you do. The deepest and most impactful layer is identity change. This is about changing your beliefs, your self-image, your worldview, your judgments. This is about what you believe. It's who you are becoming. The problem isn't that one layer is inherently better than another. All 3 are valuable. The problem lies in the direction of change. Many try to change their habits by focusing on outcomes. I want to be thin, they think. They set a diet as the process, but without changing the underlying identity, the beliefs that led to their current habits, these outcome-based habits fail. Instead, consider identity-based habits. This approach shifts the focus to who you want to be. Instead of, "I'm trying to quit smoking," the more powerful statement is, "I'm not a smoker." This subtle shift signals a fundamental change in identity. Smoking is no longer part of who you are. Your habits reflect your identity. Want more money? But if you identify as a spender, not a creator, you'll be pulled towards spending, not earning. Want better health? Prioritizing comfort over achievement will likely lead you to relaxation, not training. Remember, a system of beliefs underpins every system of actions. You can't just change behavior without addressing the underlying beliefs that drive that behavior. You need to change who you are to change what you do. True behavior change is identity change. Brian Clark, for instance, stopped biting his nails not by sheer willpower, but by changing his self-image through manicures. He became proud of his nails, and that pride reinforced the new habit. Ultimately, your identity emerges from your habits. You don't start as a writer, you become one by writing. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Your identity is your repeated beingness. The more evidence you gather through your habits, repeated actions, the stronger that identity becomes. It's a two-step process. Decide who you want to be, then prove it to yourself with small wins. Habits aren't just about achieving external successes, they're about becoming someone. They shape your deepest beliefs. You become your habits. The real question isn't what or how you change, but who. That's where lasting transformation begins.
Identity-based habits. We've just explored the 3 layers of behavior change: outcomes, processes, and identity. The crucial point is not that one level is inherently better than another, but rather that most of us approach habit formation incorrectly. We focus on what we want to achieve, leading to outcome-based habits, when the key lies in focusing on who we want to become. Identity-based habits. Imagine 2 people refusing a cigarette. The first says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." This person still identifies as a smoker, hoping to change their behavior while retaining the same underlying belief. The second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." This subtle shift in self-perception is powerful. Smoking is part of their past, not their present identity. This is why merely setting goals often fails. You might aim for weight loss outcome, believing that sticking to a diet process will get you there. But without changing your core beliefs, your identity, your old habits will sabotage your efforts. Your actions stem from your belief system, and these beliefs underpin your habits. Behavior inconsistent with your self-image won't last. You might want more money, but if you identify as a spender, not a creator, you'll continue spending rather than earning. Brian Clark's story exemplifies this. He quit nail biting not through willpower alone, but by getting a manicure. Suddenly, he took pride in well-maintained nails. It became part of his identity, and the habit change stuck. The ultimate intrinsic motivation comes when a habit becomes part of who you are. It's not enough to want to be a certain type of person. You must be that person. Your behaviors reflect your identity. What you do signals who you believe you are. Research shows that identifying as a voter significantly increases voting likelihood compared to simply intending to vote. When your behavior and identity align, you're not changing, you're simply acting in accordance with your self-image. But identity change is a double-edged sword. Once entrenched, beliefs can hinder change. We easily fall into ingrained patterns. I'm bad with directions, or I'm not a morning person. These become self-fulfilling prophecies, resisting actions that contradict our self-image. The more deeply ingrained a belief, the harder it is to change. To shift your identity, follow a 2-step process. 1. Decide the type of person you want to be. What principles and values define your ideal self? Work backward from the results you desire to the kind of person who could achieve them. Ask, who is the type of person who could achieve this? For example, who is the type of person who could write a book? Likely someone consistent and reliable. This reframes the goal from writing a book, outcome, to embodying consistency and reliability, identity. 2. Prove it to yourself with small wins. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will magically transform beliefs, but consistent actions accumulate evidence of your new identity. A friend lost 100 pounds by repeatedly asking, "What would a healthy person do?" She acted like a healthy person until she became one. Remember, habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits. A continuous feedback loop. The focus should be on becoming the person, not achieving a specific outcome. The real reason habits matter is not just for better results, but because they shape your beliefs about yourself. You quite literally become your habits.
The two-step process to changing your identity. We've just explored the powerful concept of identity-based habits. The core idea is that lasting change isn't just about changing what you do, but fundamentally changing who you are. It's about becoming the type of person who can naturally exhibit the behaviors you desire. But how do we actually accomplish this profound shift? The answer lies in a deceptively simple two-step process. The first step is to decide the type of person you want to be. This isn't about setting specific goals like lose 20 pounds or run a marathon, although those can be helpful starting points. Instead, it's about identifying the underlying identity that would naturally lead to those outcomes. Ask yourself, who is the kind of person who could achieve this? If your goal is to write a book, you might conclude that you need to become a consistent and reliable writer. This is a crucial shift in perspective, from focusing on the outcome, writing a book, to focusing on the identity, being a consistent and reliable writer. This allows you to start thinking in terms of becoming the type of person you aspire to be. Think about leaders who advocate for their employees, teachers who champion their students, or doctors who provide empathetic care. These are identity-based aspirations, not just outcome-based goals. Once you've decided who you want to become, the second step is to prove it to yourself with small wins. This is where the concept of feedback loops becomes critical. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits. It's a continuous cycle. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you wish to become. A single action won't drastically alter your beliefs, but consistent actions accumulate evidence, strengthening the belief in your new identity. Think of the countless tiny choices you make daily. Each time you write a page, you reinforce the identity of a writer. Each time you exercise, you're reinforcing the identity of an athlete. Each tiny success, each small win, provides more evidence that supports your new identity, making it easier to believe in yourself and to act in accordance with your desired character. This process is gradual. It's not about a sudden transformation, but a continuous accumulation of evidence. The more evidence you gather supporting your new identity, the stronger your belief becomes, further reinforcing the positive cycle. It's a two-way street. Your actions continuously reshape your self-image, and because your actions are influenced by your self-image, it's essential to consciously choose actions that align with the person you want to become. This, then, is the essence of creating lasting change, building habits that serve as proof of your evolving identity, fostering a feedback loop that continuously reinforces the positive changes you seek. Small changes can create large transformations when they become woven into the fabric of your identity.
Cue, craving, response, reward. We've just explored how changing your identity is key to lasting habit change. But how do we actually build those habits that shape our identity? The answer lies in understanding the habit loop, a fascinating feedback mechanism James Clear reveals within the book. The habit loop, as Clear describes it, is a four-step process: cue, craving, response, and reward. Think of it like this. A cue triggers your brain to anticipate a reward, creating a craving. This craving motivates a response, the actual habit, which then delivers the reward, satisfying the craving and reinforcing the connection between the cue and the response. It's a continuous cycle, a feedback loop shaping your behavior. Let's break down each step. The cue is the trigger. It could be anything from the sight of your phone to a specific time of day, even an internal feeling like stress. The craving is the motivational force, not for the habit itself, but for the change of state it promises. You don't crave the cigarette, but the relief it offers. You don't crave the workout, but the energy boost it delivers. Then comes the response, the actual habit you perform. Smoking the cigarette, doing the workout, checking your phone. This response is influenced by your motivation, the strength of your craving, and the ease with which you can perform it. Finally, the reward is the satisfaction, the feeling that confirms your action was worthwhile. This satisfaction reinforces the entire loop, making you more likely to repeat the cycle. Clear cleverly divides this into two phases. The problem phase, encompassing the cue and craving when you identify a need, and the solution phase, encompassing the response and reward when you take action and get what you want. Every habit is born from a desire to resolve a problem, whether it's a physical discomfort, a mental urge, or a desire for something positive. For example, imagine a cold, dark room. The cue is the darkness. The craving is the desire to see. The response is flipping the light switch, and the reward is the ability to see. It's an almost instantaneous loop, repeating itself countless times throughout our lives. This four-step framework is the foundation of the 4 laws of behavior change. To build good habits, you need to make them obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Conversely, to break bad habits, you have to do the opposite. Make them invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. By manipulating these 4 levers, we consciously design our habits rather than being passively shaped by them. This framework, Clear argues, provides a systematic approach to changing any behavior, not just individual habits, but also organizational and societal ones. We've just explored the powerful framework of cue, craving, response, reward, the fundamental building blocks of every habit. Now let's build on that understanding with James Clear's insightful 4 laws of behavior change. These laws aren't just theoretical, they're practical levers you can use to design your ideal habits and eliminate those that hinder you. The first law is make it obvious. Think of the paramedic who, through years of experience, subconsciously learned to recognize the subtle facial cues indicating an impending heart attack. Her brain, a prediction machine, had honed its ability to spot crucial details. This highlights the importance of self-awareness. Clear introduces the Habits Scorecard, a simple tool to catalog your daily habits, labeling each as good, plus, bad, minus, or neutral equals. This initial step of observation is crucial before we can effectively change. Similarly, pointing and calling used by Japanese train conductors raises awareness by verbalizing actions, drastically reducing errors. By making your habits conscious, you can start to influence them. Next, we have make it attractive. Remember Tinberg's herring gull chicks?
pecking instinctively at exaggerated red dots on fake beaks? This illustrates the power of supranormal stimuli, heightened versions of reality that trigger stronger responses. Our modern world is rife with these, hyperpalatable foods, addictive social media, and so on. To counteract this, Clear suggests temptation bundling, linking an action you need to do with one you want to do. Ronan Byrne's ingenious Netflix-powered exercise bike is a perfect example. By connecting desired and necessary actions, we make the latter more appealing. The role of your social circles also plays a part, as we naturally imitate those close to us, those in large groups, and those we view as successful or powerful. This highlights the importance of surrounding yourself with people who embody the habits you aspire to. The third law, make it easy, emphasizes action over mere motion. Jerry Uelsmann's photography class experiment showed that consistent practice, even if imperfect, yields far superior results than theorizing about perfection. The 2-minute rule simplifies this by shrinking your habit to a 2-minute task, making it incredibly easy to start. This isn't about achieving your ultimate goal immediately, but about building the habit of showing up. Once established, you can gradually increase the difficulty. Reducing friction in your environment through environment design, as we previously discussed, is also essential. Preempting obstacles like laying out your workout clothes the night before makes adherence significantly easier. Finally, make it satisfying. This law hinges on the cardinal rule. What is immediately rewarded is repeated, and what is immediately punished is avoided. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification, making long-term rewards challenging to prioritize. The solution? Use reinforcement, adding immediate rewards to your good habits. Stephen Luby's hand-washing study in Pakistan, where using a premium, enjoyable soap increased adherence, perfectly illustrates this. Additionally, turning avoidance into a tangible reward, putting money in a savings account for each missed temptation, makes doing nothing satisfying. Habit trackers further reinforce this by providing visual evidence of progress, making the process itself rewarding, feeding motivation and confirming a new identity. Remember, never miss twice. Maintaining your streak or promptly recovering from a slip-up is key to long-term habit success. Finally, regular reflection and review ensures you're always making refinements and improvements based on your current performance and values. Continuous improvement, not perfection, is the goal. By mastering these 4 laws, you build not just habits, but a system for sustainable, lasting change.
The power of observation. We've just explored the 4 laws of behavior change, a powerful framework for understanding how our actions are shaped. But before we can effectively change our habits, we need to understand them first. This begins with the power of observation, recognizing that our habits are often unconscious actions and raising our awareness to truly see what we're doing. The book emphasizes that habits, at their core, are automatic responses to specific situations. They're routines and practices performed regularly, often without conscious thought. Think about how you brush your teeth, make coffee, or even drive your car. These are actions so ingrained, so automatic, that they almost happen on autopilot. This is the very nature of habit formation. Our brain's efficient way of handling routine tasks, freeing up mental capacity for other challenges. But this unconscious nature is precisely where the problem lies. We aren't often aware of the subtle cues, the triggers that set our habits in motion. We're caught in a loop of repetitive behavior without understanding why. To break this cycle, we need to become conscious observers of our own lives. James Clear stresses that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. To enhance this awareness, Clear introduces the habit scorecard. This simple tool involves listing your daily habits and categorizing them as good, plus, bad, minus, or neutral,
equals based on their contribution to your long-term goals. This isn't about self-judgment, but about observation. Notice the pattern of your behavior, just as you might objectively watch someone else. Identify the behaviors that align with your desired identity and those that hinder your progress. Consider the example of checking your phone first thing in the morning. For someone aiming for increased productivity, this might be a minus, interrupting focused work with distractions. However, for someone seeking social connection, it might be a plus, initiating contact with loved ones. The scoring depends entirely on your aspirations. The goal isn't immediate change, but developing awareness of your current habits. From this awareness, we can begin to design better systems and change our behavior. This self-awareness is the first crucial step toward mastering our habits. By clearly identifying both our good and bad habits through the habit scorecard, we build a foundation for effective change. This awareness is the key that unlocks the power to shape our future selves.
Implementation intentions. We've just explored the power of observation, learning how to become more aware of our existing habits. Now let's move on to a crucial strategy for changing those habits: implementation intentions. This isn't about finding more motivation, it's about creating clarity. Clear plans significantly increase the likelihood of taking action. The book highlights a study where participants were asked to build better exercise habits. Two groups tracked their workouts, one also receiving motivational material on the benefits of exercise. A third group, however, did something different. They formulated a specific plan. During the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on day, at time, in place. The results? A staggering 91% of the third group exercised at least once that week, compared to only 35 to 38% in the other groups. This seemingly small difference, specifying when and where, made a huge impact. Clarity trumped motivation. The core concept behind implementation intentions is simple. When situation X arises, I will perform response Y. This isn't about vague goals like, I'll eat healthier, but concrete plans. It's about making the cue for your habit incredibly obvious. The most common cues are time and location. Instead of relying on willpower or remembering to act, you pre-program your response to a specific time and place. The book suggests a simple sentence to help you create your implementation intention. I will behavior at time in location. For example, I will meditate for 5 minutes at 7 a.m. in my bedroom. Or, I will write for 1 hour at 6 p.m. in my office. This takes the guesswork out of when and where to act, removing a significant hurdle to habit formation. Making the time and place specific makes it incredibly obvious when the time is right. This leads us to a powerful related technique, habit stacking. This builds upon an existing habit, using its completion as the cue for the new habit. The formula is, after current habit, I will new habit. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will meditate for 1 minute. By linking your new habit to an existing one, you create a very clear and reliable trigger. This method leverages the natural sequence of your day, reducing the mental effort required to initiate the new behavior. Habit stacking doesn't just help with creating new habits, it helps create chains of habits, building momentum. Imagine, after I drink my coffee, I will meditate. After meditation, I will review my to-do list. After my to-do list, I'll start working on my top priority task. These small, chained habits create a system, a daily flow that makes the desired actions almost inevitable. Remember, the power of implementation intentions and habit stacking lies in their simplicity and clarity. They address the crucial issue of when and where to act, replacing vague intentions with concrete plans, making the first step, and often the next few steps, much easier to accomplish.
Habit stacking. So, we've just explored the power of implementation intentions, planning exactly when and where you'll perform a new habit. This precision boosts your chances of success dramatically. But what if we could make those intentions even more effective? What if we could leverage existing habits to effortlessly integrate new ones? That's where habit stacking comes in. Habit stacking involves linking a new habit to an existing one. It's a powerful application of implementation intentions, but instead of specifying time and place, we use a pre-existing routine as our trigger. Think of it as piggybacking your new behavior onto something you already do automatically. The book uses the formula, after blank, I will blank. Imagine wanting to meditate daily. Instead of scheduling it for a specific time, a time you might miss because of an unexpected meeting or personal emergency, you could use an existing habit like making your morning coffee as the cue. Your new habit stack becomes, after I pour my morning cup of coffee, I will meditate for 1 minute. Simple, yet remarkably effective. This technique directly addresses the issue of remembering to act. By tying the new behavior to an ingrained routine, you create a very obvious cue, one that the brain already recognizes and automatically responds to. It's a powerful example of designing your environment to trigger the desired behavior. However, habit stacking's effectiveness isn't just about making things obvious. It also taps into a fascinating psychological phenomenon, the Diderot effect. Named after the philosopher Denis Diderot, this effect describes how acquiring one new item often leads to a cascade of further purchases. You buy a new coat, and suddenly your old shoes seem mismatched, prompting a new shoe purchase. This chain reaction happens because each acquisition alters your perception of your existing possessions, making them seem less suitable. The Diderot effect isn't limited to shopping. It applies to habits too. Each completed habit becomes a cue that triggers the next, creating a chain reaction of behaviors. Habit stacking exploits this effect by deliberately chaining small, desirable actions together. This method isn't about willpower or intense motivation. It's about making the path of least resistance lead to the desired outcome. If you structure your habits effectively, you ride the wave of your existing routines toward new ones. You don't have to exert heroic levels of self-control every time. By carefully selecting the right current habit to act as a cue, you can build entire habit stacks that naturally flow throughout your day, forming a sequence of interconnected actions. Habit stacking, therefore, isn't simply about creating obvious cues. It's about strategically leveraging the interconnectedness of behaviors to build momentum and make your good habits nearly inevitable. By making good habits easy to begin and the transition from one to the next seamless, we reduce friction and increase our success rate. We're not just building habits, we're architecting a lifestyle. Supernormal stimuli. We've just explored the power of habit stacking, a clever way to build new habits by leveraging existing ones. But even the best designed habit can falter if it's not compelling enough. That's where the concept of supernormal stimuli comes in. This is a key idea in understanding why some habits are so incredibly sticky and others fizzle out. Think about junk food. We crave salt, sugar, and fat because for hundreds of thousands of years, these nutrients were rare and crucial for survival. Our brains evolved to prioritize them, even though today they're readily available in excessive amounts. The modern food industry expertly exploits this, crafting hyper-palatable foods that trigger an exaggerated response in our reward systems. It's not just about satisfying hunger, it's about triggering a dopamine frenzy, an amplified craving far beyond what our ancestors ever experienced. As neuroscientist Stefan Guyanet puts it, We've gotten too good at pushing our own buttons. These manufactured cravings are supernormal stimuli, exaggerated versions of naturally rewarding cues. They hijack our innate preferences, making them far more potent than anything found in nature. Consider the perfectly engineered crunch of a potato chip or the creamy, gooey texture of melted cheese, both crafted to maximize our pleasure response and encourage overconsumption. These are not subtle cues. They're designed to be irresistible. This principle extends beyond food. Modern temptations abound. Social media provides a supernormal dose of validation and approval, far exceeding what we receive in face-to-face interactions. Online shopping delivers instant gratification on a scale unimaginable to past generations. These digital environments are meticulously designed to capture our attention and amplify our cravings, creating habits that can be incredibly difficult to break. They're all examples of supernormal stimuli, pulling us in with rewards that surpass the natural world's offerings, leaving us easily susceptible to excessive use, consumption, and engagement. Understanding the power of these supernormal stimuli is crucial for building better habits and breaking free from unhealthy ones. The key is to recognize these intensified cues and consciously design systems that are both satisfying and sustainable, preventing the runaway train of overconsumption and unwanted behavior.
Dopamine and the habit loop. We've just explored the fascinating world of supernormal stimuli, those irresistible, exaggerated versions of reality that hijack our natural reward systems. Now, let's delve deeper into the mechanism that drives these cravings, the habit loop, fueled by dopamine. The habit loop isn't just some abstract theory, it's a concrete neurological pathway. It begins with the cue, a trigger that signals a potential reward. Think of Pavlov's dogs. The bell became a cue predicting food. For us, cues can be anything from the ding of a notification to the sight of a tempting treat. This cue, however, is meaningless until interpreted. The anticipation of reward is where things get interesting. This anticipation is precisely what triggers a surge of dopamine. Remember the rat experiments where blocking dopamine eliminated all desire? It wasn't the pleasure of the sugar reward that mattered. It was the wanting of it, the anticipation fueled by the dopamine surge. This is crucial. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure itself, but the expectation of pleasure. It's the wanting, not the liking, that drives our actions. This is why the thrill of the chase can sometimes outweigh the satisfaction of the prize. The feeling of excitement before a vacation can often be more enjoyable than the vacation itself. This dopamine spike doesn't only occur when we receive the reward, it happens before we take the action, in anticipation of the reward. This is why activities like gambling or checking social media can become so addictive. The dopamine hits come before the actual win or notification, creating a powerful feedback loop of anticipation and reward, reinforcing the behavior. Once we act, we reach the response phase, the actual habit itself, whether it's checking our phone or reaching for a cookie. The effectiveness of this response depends on our motivation, the strength of our craving, and how easy the action is. Finally, the reward satisfies our craving, closing the loop. But here's another critical piece of the puzzle. The reward doesn't just satisfy, it also teaches. Each time the loop repeats, the connection strengthens, making the habit more and more automatic. The cue, craving, response, reward become an ingrained neurological pathway. This cycle, cue, craving, response, reward, continually runs in the background of our lives, shaping our actions with each passing moment, often without conscious awareness. Understanding this loop is the key to designing habits that serve us rather than control us. Temptation bundling. We just explored the fascinating interplay of dopamine and the habit loop. Now, let's delve into a powerful strategy for making good habits more appealing: temptation bundling. Remember, habits are all about the feedback loop: cue, craving, response, reward. Temptation bundling cleverly manipulates that craving, enhancing the attractiveness of actions we need to do by pairing them with actions we want to do. This strategy directly addresses the motivational force behind habits. As we learned, dopamine isn't just about the reward itself, it's also about the anticipation of the reward. Temptation bundling leverages this anticipatory dopamine rush, making the less desirable action more irresistible. The core concept relies on Premack's principle, which simply states that high-probability behaviors can reinforce low-probability behaviors. Think about it. You're more likely to do something you don't particularly enjoy if it's coupled with something you genuinely crave. Ronan Burns' ingenious hack of his stationary bike is a perfect example. He made exercising more attractive by only allowing himself to watch Netflix while cycling at a certain speed. He effectively bundled a wanted behavior, watching Netflix, with a needed behavior, exercising. The craving for the show became intertwined with the act of cycling, making him more likely to exercise. Another illustration comes from ABC's TGIT marketing campaign. They masterfully paired their desired behavior, viewers watching their shows, with wanted activities like relaxing, enjoying popcorn, and drinking wine. The association created made Thursday nights inherently more attractive, making the action of watching their shows a more likely behavior. This is the power of temptation bundling. It's not about forcing yourself to do something you dislike, it's about strategically combining tasks to make the overall experience more enjoyable and thus more likely to happen. You're essentially hacking your own reward system. You can apply this technique to virtually any area of your life. Want to read more? Only allow yourself to read while enjoying a cup of your favorite coffee. Need to make phone calls? Only make them while listening to your favorite podcast. The key is to link a habit you want with one you need, turning a chore into a desirable experience. By strategically building this anticipation and linking it to an already desired activity, you're making even the most challenging habits more irresistible.
The role of social influence. We've just explored the cleverness of temptation bundling, a technique to make our habits more appealing. Now let's delve into another powerful influence on our actions: social influence. Our behavior is profoundly shaped by the people around us, and understanding this can dramatically improve our ability to build good habits and break bad ones. The book highlights 3 key groups whose influence we often unconsciously mimic: those close to us, the many, and the powerful. Let's start with the close. Think about your family and friends. Their habits, often unconsciously adopted, become our own. We mirror the way they handle conflicts, their communication styles, even their eating habits. Clear emphasizes this point, stating, "We don't choose our earliest habits, we imitate them." The influence is powerful, so much so that studies show a 57% increase in obesity risk if a close friend becomes obese. Conversely, if someone in your close circle loses weight, there's a significant chance you will too. Next, consider the influence of the many. This relates to the broader social norms of our community. Ash's conformity experiments brilliantly demonstrated how easily we conform to group opinions, even when our own senses tell us otherwise. We look to the majority to guide our behavior, seeking validation and a sense of belonging. This inherent desire to fit in can sometimes override our individual goals, making even positive habits seem less attractive if they go against the grain of our culture. The book explains this succinctly. The normal behavior of the tribe often overpowers the desired behavior of the individual.
Finally, we have the powerful. We're drawn to the habits of those we admire, those who possess status, prestige, and success. We subconsciously imitate their actions, hoping to emulate their achievements. Think of how we might model our work habits after a successful entrepreneur, or our fitness routine after a renowned athlete. We instinctively recognize that their behaviors lead to positive outcomes and aspire to achieve similar results. Clear argues that we're motivated to adopt behaviors that elevate our status and avoid those that diminish it. This understanding of social norms leads to a key strategy. Clear strongly advises us to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Surrounding yourself with people who already embody the habits you aim to adopt dramatically increases the attractiveness of those behaviors. This is not just about finding a supportive group. It's about joining a tribe where your goals align with the culture, making change feel not just like a solitary struggle, but more like a natural part of your surroundings. This powerful combination of belonging and shared aspiration can be the key to sustaining new positive habits. The Polgar sisters, raised in a family obsessed with chess, serve as a compelling example of this phenomenon. Their unwavering dedication, seemingly extreme in its intensity, was actually supported by a culture that reinforced and celebrated such a focused lifestyle. Ultimately, harnessing the power of social influence requires a proactive approach. We must consciously choose the environments and communities that support our goals, making the path toward positive change not only easier, but also significantly more attractive. This understanding serves as a bridge to our next exploration of habit formation.
We've just explored how social influence shapes our habits. But understanding our environment is only half the battle. The other half, equally crucial, lies in the importance of consistent practice. This isn't about sporadic bursts of effort, but rather the steady, almost imperceptible accumulation of small wins over time. James Clear emphasizes the vital distinction between action and motion. He argues, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. This means that while planning and strategizing, motion might feel productive, it's only consistent, focused action that delivers results. Think of British cycling's transformation under Dave Brailsford. He didn't focus on revolutionary changes, but rather on the aggregation of marginal gains, incrementally improving every aspect of cycling, from saddle design to hand-washing techniques. This seemingly insignificant 1% improvement compounded over time, leading to unparalleled success. Clear uses the powerful analogy of compound interest. He says, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. A 1% improvement daily over a year leads to a 37-fold increase in your capabilities. Conversely, a 1% daily decline leads to near total collapse. The book drives home the point. Small, consistent actions, repeated over time, yield extraordinary outcomes. Conversely, small, seemingly insignificant mistakes repeated consistently erode progress gradually until a crisis emerges. This applies to everything from finances and health to productivity and relationships. It's the relentless repetition, rather than perfection in any one instance, that's key. This leads to the concept of automaticity. As Clear explains, habits become automatic solutions to recurring problems. Through repeated practice, our brains learn to predict rewards, reducing conscious effort and freeing mental space. The book provides a compelling illustration of this process, a graph showing how the automaticity of a habit like a 10-minute walk increases with repetition until it becomes nearly effortless. The focus shifts from a conscious, labored effort to a nearly automatic, unconscious behavior.
The key is to prioritize repetition over perfection. Don't get bogged down in planning the perfect system. Just start. The book highlights the photography student experiment, where those focusing on quantity, and thus consistent practice, outperformed those striving for perfection in a single image. The former learned from their numerous attempts and refined their skills. The latter were paralyzed by the fear of failing to achieve a perfect photo, ultimately achieving little. Consistent practice, even with imperfections, carves deeper neural pathways, and this constant repetition is the bedrock of real progress, allowing the unconscious mind to take over. The book encourages us to view habit formation as a process of increasing repetition, not simply the passage of time. It emphasizes the number of times we perform the action, not how long we've spent trying.
The law of least effort. We've just explored the power of consistent practice in building habits. Now let's delve into a crucial element that often gets overlooked, the law of least effort. This principle, simply put, explains our inherent tendency to choose the easiest path. But understanding this isn't about accepting laziness. It's about strategically designing our environments to make good habits effortless and bad habits difficult. The book uses the example of agricultural expansion to illustrate this. The shape of continents, specifically the east-west orientation of Eurasia versus the north-south orientation of the Americas, significantly influenced the spread of agriculture. Why? Because similar latitudes share similar climates. Farming across Eurasia was easier, less frictional, leading to a faster spread of agriculture and subsequent societal advancements. This highlights how minimizing friction, the effort required to perform an action, is key. This ties directly into environmental design. Think about the hospital cafeteria study, where simply adding water to more locations dramatically reduced soda consumption. No lectures, no motivational speeches, just a change in the environment. The most obvious option became the easiest and therefore the most chosen. Our environments are powerful, unseen forces shaping our behavior. Lewin's equation B equals FPE neatly summarizes this. Behavior is a function of the person and their environment. We aren't just passive recipients of our surroundings, we can actively design them. One powerful technique is habit stacking. Remember the habit stacking formula: after current habit, I will, new habit. This leverages the natural flow of our day. By linking a new habit to an existing one, we reduce the cognitive load and make the new habit a much easier next step. This leads us to automating habits. The cash register is a classic example. It didn't change people's inherent honesty, it simply made stealing impractical. Consider the one-time investments that pay off again and again. A water filter for better hydration, a supportive chair for better posture, unsubscribing from unnecessary emails for increased focus. These small upfront efforts drastically reduce friction in the long run. Finally, the 2-minute rule simplifies everything. Instead of aiming for ambitious goals, downscale your habits. Meditate for 30 minutes becomes put my meditation app on my phone. This minimal effort increases the chances of starting, and once you've started, continuing becomes much easier. It's about building the habit of showing up, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Only then can you begin to optimize and improve. The law of least effort isn't about being lazy, it's about making the path to positive change as smooth and frictionless as possible.
We've just explored the powerful concept of the law of least effort, understanding how our natural inclination towards ease influences our choices. Building on this, we now delve into a practical technique that directly addresses that inclination: the 2-minute rule.
This rule isn't about grand gestures or overnight transformations. It's about downscaling habits to make them incredibly easy to initiate. It's about lowering the barrier to entry, making it almost effortless to begin. The core idea is simple. Any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to start. Clear emphasizes this as a crucial aspect of habit shaping, not to fool ourselves into thinking we've accomplished something significant, but to leverage our inherent laziness to our advantage. This isn't about the end result, it's about the initial step. Instead of read for 30 minutes, the goal becomes read 1 page. Instead of do a full hour workout, it's put on your workout clothes. The key here is to create a small gateway habit that, once started, naturally encourages the continuation of the desired behavior. This concept of downscaling directly addresses the common problem of starting too big. The initial burst of enthusiasm often leads us to undertake overly ambitious goals. The 2-minute rule helps sidestep this issue and helps establish consistency. As Clear points out, a habit must be established before it can be improved. We need to standardize before we optimize. These tiny, seemingly insignificant actions, reading 1 page, putting on our workout clothes, are significant because they represent showing up. They establish the habit of initiating the desired behavior. They are the crucial first step that overcomes inertia. Once we've overcome the initial resistance, the momentum carries us further. This is precisely the power of the gateway habit. The initial 2-minute action becomes a trigger for a longer, more substantial undertaking. A single push-up can become a complete workout. 1 page read might easily transform into an entire chapter. The 2-minute rule also functions as a form of reinforcement. Each successful instance, no matter how small, contributes to a sense of accomplishment, bolstering our motivation. This immediate feedback loop, even with these minute actions, keeps us engaged and reinforces our desired identity as someone who engages in the habit. This strategy is particularly effective when tackling tasks that have a significant level of difficulty, something Clear refers to as habit shaping. For instance, you could shape a larger habit of meditation by beginning with 1 minute of focused breathing, consistently completing the short session before gradually increasing the duration. Or you could shape a workout habit by always putting on your workout clothes as the first step, this action serving as the gateway to more advanced training. The essence of habit shaping is to master the first 2 minutes of a scaled-down version of a behavior, then move incrementally to more advanced steps, maintaining a focus on those crucial initial moments. Finally, even if you only manage to stick to the 2-minute rule, perhaps only spending 120 seconds on a particular task, the simple act of showing up reinforces your identity. As Clear observes, it's better to do less than you hoped than to do nothing at all. It is about cultivating a consistent practice, continually reinforcing that new identity. The 2-minute commitment helps establish a consistent foundation upon which to build a more substantial habit. The consistency of action, even at a minimal level, creates the momentum to naturally progress towards the more challenging aspects of the habit.
The cardinal rule of behavior change. We've just explored the power of the 2-minute rule in making habits manageable. Now let's delve into a fundamental principle that governs all behavior change: the cardinal rule. It's deceptively simple, yet profoundly impactful. What is rewarded is repeated. What is punished is avoided. This isn't just about abstract concepts. It's about the very wiring of our brains.
Let's consider Stephen Luby's work in Karachi, Pakistan. Facing a public health crisis stemming from poor sanitation, Luby's team aimed to establish the simple habit of hand washing. They discovered that knowledge wasn't the problem, consistency was. People knew hand washing was important, but they lacked the motivation to do it consistently. The solution? They partnered with Procter & Gamble to provide Safeguard soap, a premium, pleasant-smelling soap that made the act of washing hands more enjoyable. The immediate reward of a pleasant sensory experience, the rich lather, the nice scent, made hand washing more satisfying. The result? A dramatic decrease in disease, not just during the trial, but even years later, demonstrating that people had integrated the improved hand-washing habit into their lives. This highlights the critical distinction between immediate and delayed rewards. Our brains, honed over millennia in immediate return environments, crave instant gratification. The benefits of good habits, improved health, financial security, are often delayed, while the immediate rewards of bad habits are readily available. Smoking provides immediate stress relief, even though the long-term consequences are devastating. Overeating delivers immediate pleasure, while the weight gain comes later. This innate bias toward immediate gratification makes self-control challenging. It's easier to avoid temptation than resist it. To counteract this, we must make good habits immediately satisfying and bad habits immediately unsatisfying. Luby's success stemmed from making hand washing immediately rewarding through the use of a superior product. Another strategy is using immediate reinforcement. Let's say you're trying to avoid impulsive spending. Instead of just resisting the temptation, immediately transfer the amount you would have spent into a savings account, earmarked for a specific goal, a new jacket, a vacation. This provides an immediate positive reward, turning a habit of avoidance into a satisfying experience. This is about making doing nothing, resisting the bad habit, immediately rewarding. Accountability partners can also amplify the cardinal rule. Knowing someone is watching your behavior introduces an immediate social cost to failure. A habit contract, a formal agreement outlining your commitment and the consequences of breaking it, formalizes this accountability, creating an immediate and potentially painful consequence for non-compliance. This increases the satisfaction of sticking with the habit. Remember, the cardinal rule isn't just about what gets rewarded eventually, it's about what gets rewarded immediately. By carefully engineering immediate rewards for good habits and immediate consequences for bad ones, we can harness the power of our brain's reward system to build lasting, positive changes. The cumulative effect of these small, immediate rewards is what ultimately leads to remarkable, lasting results.
Reinforcement and habit tracking. We've just explored the crucial cardinal rule of behavior change, that what is rewarded is repeated and what is punished is avoided. This naturally leads us to consider how we can actively reinforce positive habits and, conversely, make undesirable ones less appealing. This involves two key strategies: reinforcement and habit tracking. Let's start with reinforcement. The core idea is immediate rewards. Think back to Thorndike's cats in the puzzle box. The immediate reward of escaping and reaching the food was the key to learning. This isn't just about grand prizes. Small, immediate rewards are incredibly effective. Just as the pleasing aroma and lather of Safeguard soap in Luby's Pakistani hand-washing study transformed a task into a satisfying experience, leading to a significant decrease in illness, so too can we incorporate small, immediate rewards in our own lives. For instance, moving a paperclip after a completed task provides a tangible, satisfying sign of progress. Habit trackers act as potent reinforcement systems. They offer visual measurement,
a powerful tool often underestimated. Think of the simple habit tracker Benjamin Franklin used to monitor his 13 virtues, or Jerry Seinfeld's "Don't Break the Chain" approach to daily joke writing. These methods aren't just about recording, they create a visual representation of your progress. A long streak of X's on a calendar becomes inherently motivating. You don't want to break the chain. Seeing that visual representation of success provides immediate satisfaction, reinforcing the positive behavior. The act of tracking itself becomes a reward, which is why a simple habit tracker can be so powerful. Furthermore, habit trackers provide immediate feedback, clarifying your current habits and revealing where you may be slipping up or exceeding expectations. This self-awareness is crucial. It prevents the cognitive slumber that allows bad habits to fester unchecked. The simple act of recording your habits, however briefly, transforms them from background noise into conscious choices. This allows you to fine-tune and improve. Remember, a single missed day isn't a catastrophic failure. The real problem is allowing that one missed day to compound into 2, 3, or more. The goal is to never miss twice. Get back on track immediately after any lapse. The combination of immediate rewards and consistent tracking creates a powerful feedback loop. You perform the habit, you track it, you feel the immediate satisfaction of progress, and that satisfaction fuels the desire to repeat the cycle. This isn't just about creating a system for recording, it's about creating a system for reinforcement and ongoing improvement, where small wins compound into remarkable results, transforming tiny changes into extraordinary achievements.
Dopamine and the habit loop. We've just explored the fascinating world of supernormal stimuli, those irresistible, exaggerated versions of reality that hijack our natural reward systems. Now, let's delve deeper into the mechanism that drives these cravings, the habit loop, fueled by dopamine. The habit loop isn't just some abstract theory, it's a concrete neurological pathway. It begins with the cue, a trigger that signals a potential reward. Think of Pavlov's dogs. The bell became a cue predicting food. For us, cues can be anything from the ding of a notification to the sight of a tempting treat. This cue, however, is meaningless until interpreted. The anticipation of reward is where things get interesting. This anticipation is precisely what triggers a surge of dopamine. Remember the rat experiments where blocking dopamine eliminated all desire. It wasn't the pleasure of the sugar reward that mattered. It was the wanting of it, the anticipation fueled by the dopamine surge. This is crucial. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure itself, but the expectation of pleasure. It's the wanting, not the liking, that drives our actions. This is why the thrill of the chase can sometimes outweigh the satisfaction of the prize. The feeling of excitement before a vacation can often be more enjoyable than the vacation itself. This dopamine spike doesn't only occur when we receive the reward, it happens before we take the action, in anticipation of the reward. This is why activities like gambling or checking social media can become so addictive. The dopamine hits come before the actual win or notification, creating a powerful feedback loop of anticipation and reward, reinforcing the behavior. Once we act, we reach the response phase, the actual habit itself, whether it's checking our phone or reaching for a cookie. The effectiveness of this response depends on our motivation, the strength of our craving, and how easy the action is. Finally, the reward satisfies our craving, closing the loop. But here's another critical piece of the puzzle. The reward doesn't just satisfy, it also teaches. Each time the loop repeats, the connection strengthens, making the habit more and more automatic. The cue, craving, response, reward become an ingrained neurological pathway.
This cycle, cue, craving, response, reward, continually runs in the background of our lives, shaping our actions with each passing moment, often without conscious awareness. Understanding this loop is the key to designing habits that serve us rather than control us.
We've just explored the power of accountability and habit contracts in solidifying our commitment to change. Now let's delve into a crucial aspect of maintaining that commitment: recovering from setbacks. This is where the concept of never miss twice comes in. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. The book emphasizes that missing a single instance of a good habit isn't catastrophic. It's the repeated failure that derails progress. Think of it like compound interest, but in reverse. A single missed workout or a day of unhealthy eating won't significantly impact your long-term goals. However, repeated misses, a consistent 1% decline, will quickly erode your gains. The author powerfully illustrates this with the analogy of a plane's trajectory. A slight deviation initially seems inconsequential, but over a long flight, it results in a vastly different destination. This leads us to another critical concept: Goodhart's Law. This principle states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. We often fall into the trap of focusing solely on quantifiable metrics: the number on the scale, the profit margin, the number of hours worked. Goodhart's Law warns us that optimizing for these metrics alone can lead to unintended negative consequences. If your only goal is to lose weight, you might resort to unhealthy crash diets, rather than focusing on building sustainable, healthy habits. The true measure is not the scale number, but a healthier, more vibrant self. The key, then, is to combine our pursuit of specific positive habits with a broader focus on the overall system of self-improvement. Never miss twice is not just a strategy for bouncing back from setbacks, but a reminder that our habits, both good and bad, are cumulative forces shaping our lives. It's about recognizing that the quality of our lives depends less on individual successes and failures, and more on the consistent application of our habits. A single missed day isn't a failure, it's an opportunity to reignite the process. The goal is to create a system where the effort of getting back on track after a slip-up is minimal, fostering the consistency that leads to remarkable results. By understanding both Goodhart's Law and the importance of recovering quickly from setbacks, we avoid the pitfalls of focusing on short-term metrics while establishing a resilient, long-term system for success. The truth about talent. We've just explored the power of never missing twice, a strategy for building lasting habits. Now let's delve into another critical aspect of habit formation: the truth about talent. It's a common misconception that success hinges solely on innate ability, a preordained talent. But the reality, as James Clear reveals, is far more nuanced. It's not simply about genes, but about the interplay between genes, opportunity, and the crucial element of fit. The book highlights the striking example of Michael Phelps and Hisham El Guerrouj, two Olympic champions with vastly different physiques. Phelps, tall, with a long torso and relatively short legs, is perfectly built for swimming. El Guerrouj, on the other hand, possesses incredibly long legs and a compact upper body, ideal for long-distance running. They both wear the same inseam in their pants, a testament to how their unique physical attributes perfectly align with their chosen sport. This fit is paramount. Clear emphasizes that while genes do play a role, they don't determine your destiny. They influence your areas of opportunity. They predispose, but they don't predetermine. Consider the Big Five personality traits:
openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. These traits, rooted in our biology, influence our natural inclinations and how easily we adapt to certain habits. Someone naturally organized, high in conscientiousness, will likely find routines simpler to establish than someone more spontaneous. Understanding your personality, shaped by your genetic predispositions, helps you identify habits aligned with your natural strengths, habits that will be more satisfying to maintain and ultimately more likely to yield remarkable results. This understanding leads to a more effortless and enjoyable journey towards self-improvement. This concept is further explained through the explore-exploit trade-off. Initially, we explore various possibilities, much like dating or trying out different career paths. Once we identify a promising avenue, something we excel at, something that provides a sense of flow, where our returns exceed the average, we shift to exploitation, focusing our efforts on refining that specific area. The key is to continually ask ourselves, what feels like fun to me but work to others? What makes me lose track of time? Where do I get greater returns than the average person? What comes naturally to me? By focusing on these questions, we can hone in on those activities that resonate deeply and align with our unique aptitudes, increasing our chances of long-term success and fulfillment. If you can't find the perfect game, then create one by combining existing skills to carve your own niche. This is precisely how many successful people achieve excellence, not by being the best at everything, but by being exceptionally good at a unique combination of skills. Finally, Clear reminds us that genes don't negate the need for hard work. They simply highlight where that work should be directed. It's not enough to identify your areas of opportunity. You must still dedicate yourself to consistent effort. The interplay between innate abilities and deliberate practice is crucial. Only by combining the two, by understanding your natural inclinations and relentlessly honing your skills, can you truly reach your potential. The most satisfying habits are often those aligned with who you truly are.
The Goldilocks rule. We've just explored the fascinating complexities of talent and how it's often less about innate ability and more about consistent effort. Now let's delve into the next crucial element, the Goldilocks rule. This principle centers around finding the sweet spot of challenge, not too easy, not too hard, but just right to maintain motivation and achieve peak performance. The book uses the example of Steve Martin's comedic career. He didn't jump from a 2-minute routine to a 70-minute stand-up show overnight. Instead, he gradually expanded his act, adding only a minute or two of new material each year. This strategy ensured he remained challenged and engaged, avoiding both boredom and crippling anxiety. He had enough successes to keep him motivated, enough failures to keep him refining his craft. This steady, incremental approach exemplifies the Goldilocks rule perfectly. The author explains that this just manageable difficulty is key to tapping into a state known as flow. This isn't just about skill, it's about the experience of being completely immersed in your task. Studies suggest a task needs to be only slightly, around 4%, beyond your current capabilities to trigger this state of flow, maximizing motivation and enjoyment. This optimal challenge level sits at the midpoint between boredom and overwhelming anxiety. But what happens when boredom creeps in? Even with a carefully balanced challenge, it's easy to lose momentum, especially when a habit feels less exciting or novel. Steve Martin's early comedy nights, performing to near-empty rooms, illustrate this well. Despite the lack of immediate recognition, he persevered, using early, less-than-perfect performances to hone his skills. The book emphasizes that the greatest obstacle to achieving remarkable results is not failure, but boredom.
We stray from consistent progress because the consistent reward becomes expected. This is the idea behind things like slot machines. The unpredictable payoff keeps us engaged, releasing dopamine in anticipation even before we win. While not all habits can incorporate variable rewards, imagine if your internet only worked sometimes. This concept highlights the importance of keeping things interesting enough to avoid losing motivation. To counter boredom, the book makes the powerful point of learning to embrace the monotony. Yes, there will be days when you don't feel like putting in the work, but that's precisely when the difference between amateurs and professionals becomes apparent. Professionals show up. Amateurs don't. Professionals maintain the commitment to the process. They understand that consistent effort, even when motivation flags, is what fuels long-term success. They accept that the journey to mastery inevitably involves periods of intense focus, interspersed with the less glamorous grind of repetition. Ultimately, falling in love with the process, even with its inevitable dull moments, is the key to long-term success.
The downside of good habits. We've just explored the power of finding the just right challenge, the Goldilocks rule, to maintain motivation. But even the best habits, if left unchecked, can have a downside. This isn't about abandoning good habits, but about understanding how to prevent them from becoming detrimental to our long-term growth. The key lies in recognizing the dangers of complacency and embracing deliberate practice and regular reflection. One pitfall of good habits is complacency. As James Clear points out, once a habit becomes automatic, we become less sensitive to feedback. We fall into mindless repetition, easily overlooking mistakes. We assume improvement comes simply from experience, but in reality, we're just reinforcing current patterns, not refining them. This can lead to a plateau, a stagnation where progress slows or even reverses despite continued effort. Think of the photography students in Clear's example. The quantity group, focused on volume, ended up producing far superior work than the quality group, obsessed with perfection. Their consistent practice, despite imperfections, led to genuine improvement. This underscores the importance of deliberate practice. It's not enough to simply repeat an action. We must actively seek feedback and refine our techniques. Deliberate practice involves consciously identifying areas for improvement, focusing intently on those weak points, and using that feedback to adjust our approach. It's about continuous refinement, not just repetition. This isn't about constantly seeking the perfect method, but about constantly striving for better through mindful engagement. Finally, to prevent the insidious creep of complacency, Clear emphasizes the necessity of reflection and review. He highlights the Los Angeles Lakers under Pat Riley, who implemented the Career Best Effort program. This wasn't just about performance metrics. It was about a conscious effort to track progress, compare it to past performance and league averages, and actively seek areas for improvement even in seemingly minor aspects like unsung hero plays. This constant monitoring and adjustment prevented the decline that often follows initial success. Clear himself uses an annual review and an integrity report to reflect on his progress and values, adjusting his habits based on this feedback. This process isn't about dwelling on failures, but about gaining awareness, a crucial step in continuous improvement. Regular reflection and review prevents the gradual slide into complacency, providing the necessary perspective to adjust our habits and maintain our upward trajectory. It ensures our good habits continue to serve us and don't become obstacles to true mastery. By actively engaging in deliberate practice and consistent reflection, we can overcome the downside of good habits and continually push forward towards remarkable results.